The Basilica of San Carpophoro rises on the eastern side of Mount Baradello, just outside Como. According to tradition, in the Roman times, this is where a temple to the pagan god Mercury stood. In the 4th century, an early Christian church was built to hold the remains of the Roman soldier Carpophoro and 5 of his companions that were killed and martyred by the men of Emperor Diocletiano, fiercely opposed to Christianity. The first Christian community of Como gathered around this basilica between the 4th and 5th century. Of the early Christian era, only a few important tablets remain, and they are on the walls of the steps leading to the crypt. Today's Church of San Carpophoro, along with its bell tower, mostly dates back to the 11th century. Also, the monastery next to the church is of the Romanesque period, but has been strongly reworked in the 16th century. The material used is plain, mostly regular square blocks of local grey stone. The outside of the apse is built with salvaged materials provided mostly by a Roman cemetery. The austere appearance, without decorations, is typical of the early Romanesque style. The facade is directed towards the Baradello and is partially interred due to landslides. However, it appears that originally the facade had no access, since inside there is no sign of the presence of a portal. Accesses are on the sides. One is towards the monastery's cloister, the other, in the right nave, is towards the outside. The bell tower is more varied. It is built from hard stone from the local quarries, and each side has 4 boxed parts lined by pilasters and blind arch frames, typical of the Lombard Romanesque. The square hole openings that sustained the scaffolding during construction are still visible on the surface. The inside is austere and bare. The structure is in 3 naves held by square pillars. The cover of the central nave is in wooden trusses, while the side naves are cross vaults. The floor is covered in local stone slabs. The presbytery is elevated because on the lower level is the crypt that held the martyrs' remains. They have been moved to the parish church of St. Bridget's. The half-round apse is separated from the nave by an arch and a vault and was built of black and white ashlars. The original main altar in stone was covered in the 16th century with polychrome marbles. The choir with wooden stalls and the ambo, also in wood, are dated back to the second half of the 15th century. On the left wall, along the stairs descending to the crypt, is a Greek gravestone inscription dated back to 401 after Christ. This inscription is one of the very few remains of the early Christian 4th century basilica. The crypt is very evocative, especially in the morning when sunlight filters through 3 small single-lancet windows and the small round eastern windows. The small altar was also covered in polychrome marbles during the Baroque era. The chapel of Our Lady of the Assumption is the only part of the church that is decorated. It is dated back to the Renaissance and is frescoed with a Madonna on the throne with angels, Saint Jerome and a bishop upon the prospective background of a city. Other frescoes depict Saint Jerome the Hermit, scenes from the Annunciation, the Visitation, and the presentation of Jesus at the temple.